Welcome back to the Chair Company Files. I'm Carlos.
And I'm Mike.
That's it. That's the whole show.
That's the show. Wow. Definitely a different episode than the last one. That last episode ended on a crazy, crazy finish, and this one was a much more quiet episode, would you say?
Yeah, I think I put this in the notes. Like, it brought us back to reality, in quotes, if this is reality, but it definitely felt more grounded.
Yeah, it was quiet. At first, I thought it was less funny, but on a second watch, there's a lot of quietly funny moments. And as always with the show, so many great lines, just repeatable lines that I think will repeat. I'm just saying my favorite one, probably the episode, was when the ponytail dude is sitting at the picnic bench at the backyard for the party, and Tara's talking about her pickles, and he goes, "Hey T, when you're done, let me know. I have much more interesting stories to tell." It's just like, it was such a good throwaway line.
So harsh, by the way, so harsh.
And it just makes me think that they're not going to make everything a skit or a plot point, but they're just going to stuff little lines in there that they probably had through observations in life or skits they couldn't quite make into skits, but they just want to drop these little nuggets of gold.
Yeah, the nuggets of gold are what I get really excited about the show for, right? Like, let's just talk about that at the top. Like, I like the storyline, I like the horror, I like the weird stuff, but man, I just wait for those little moments, which we know are gonna, show up in every episode. And this one had a bunch of them.
Every scene has an unexpected funny switch of direction or moment you don't expect, or a funny line just like that one. So we'll talk about this maybe a little bit more, but one of my favorite whole things about this show, this episode, was Dr. Stevens, we realize, is probably a fraud, and somehow he's starting to take up residence in the office. Like when Ron was leaving, after they've been pulling a kind of an all-nighter, and he just sees the doctor sitting there reclined with a blanket on him, listening to classical music. It's just a quiet double take, 5 seconds at all total. Yep. And then it's just such a great moment.
It's funny. That reminds me of another thing I was going to say about this show in general and this episode. It's funny because Tim Robinson, takes the straight man really in this show a lot. And you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he is the wacky character in so many sketches, and he's yelling and screaming. And that's a perfect example. He watches the HR guy and he looks at him and he goes, "What the heck's going on?" And then just leaves. So he gives a little face, but he's really like the guy who's reacting. Don't you notice that? Like, he's like,
yeah.
What is happening?
He's just a guy who's suffering through life. He's got so much pressure.
Yeah.
And in a long form kind of multi-episode series, it's not like the funny part anymore. It's just like him, like in his burst of frustration, he's starting to break down. Like, it's a more serious character, but you're right. But I will say, what's funny with him in this episode, and I think throughout, is his eye expressions. Like, just, those are just really fast micro moments. Like when the lady's sitting in his office complaining about a magnetic pull to her stomach. She thinks there's a screwdriver in it, and all of a sudden,
that was weird.
The little paper clips are moving towards her stomach, and just the quick 2-second Ron eye movements.
Yeah.
Just so funny.
He loves those. And also the HR scene, which we might talk about later, but where the woman's like taking the fingers and putting it in the muffin to see if the chocolate chips are in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he just like looks like, why is she doing that? And we'll talk about it later, but she also licks her fingers in a weird way.
Does she have the hots for Ron?
Amanda is her name. And yeah, she, out of nowhere, the whole thing was like, they're not supposed to be, they're supposed to be in a good working relationship and not anything weird. And that's why HR is like monitoring them. But Amanda's the one doing this stuff.
She brought the complaint, and you almost wonder that she's having desire for Ron, and she almost maybe brought this up with HR to kind of police herself. And what's so interesting is another example of so much being told with so little. Just her licking your fingers completely changed that storyline and makes you realize that about Amanda. It's her who's attracted to Ron, not the opposite.
Yeah, it's always been Amanda.
It's always been Amanda. Darn you, Amanda.
Yeah.
So much about this episode as well was about relationships. I mean, I think this was the relationship episode. The Seth and Ron relationship, the boy and the dad. Such a big episode for that.
Mm-hmm.
Ron and Mike. This was a big episode for that. It was crazy. And Jeff and Ron. Jeff, his boss, and Ron. This was like the most in depth of all the episodes exploring that relationship. And we know more about Jeff now for sure. It's so funny. If it's not opening up to like a direct cliffhanger where it ended on the last episode, if it's just opening up, and thank God it didn't open up on the last scene from the last episode. But I did not know what they're doing with this bunch of dudes sitting around in Sedona. Like, where is this going? And then all of a sudden you realize it's boys weekend, 50-year-old dudes celebrating each other's careers. One guy's kind of holding court. This one guy is showing his Rolex off. And then he's the guy that makes Jeff basically feel insecure about insecure about his life. I think Jeff, we realized through that scene, is he's a little bit unsatisfied with this kind of the boringness of his life, I guess.
It's also that kind of thing of, you feel bad, a very classic Tim thing, and you don't want to like admit you're wrong, or you made a bad life decision and you're in the wrong job. So he doubles down when he goes back to the work and he tries to make it his own. And we'll talk about it, but he tries to change up the mall plans. But it's not about the mall. It's about him feeling emasculated, him feeling like he's not one of the crew, which, by the way, I'm going to limit I think you should leave references, but one of the crew in that whole first opening scene feels like sloppy steaks to me. Okay. It feels like sloppy steaks.
Yeah. When they pulled, I thought that Carlos was going to bring this up. When they poured the liquor out, when he poured the tequila out, I'm going, are they going sloppy steaks on us?
Are they going sloppy steaks on us? They didn't, but that's the same vibe of like, here's the machismo, crew. Although, what was that weird little game where they just spun that guy around? Oh my goodness. But that kind of starts the whole episode and is the whole kind of driving force of the whole office now is in this kind of tizzy because he is trying to make changes, and that like messes up everybody's day.
It's kind of a domino that kind of pushes throughout the whole episode because Ron's now working late nights. The stress meter is going up to 10 or 11 at this point. And he's just feeling it. And by the way, we're kind of flashing back and forth to the construction site, but also this was really weird. And I didn't write it down this, but now that I think about it, when Jeff is basically coming up to Ron and talking about how he needs to change things, Ron has that micro flashback to the dented head dude.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It happened twice. And so there was one time where initially Jeff's coming up to him. He has this flashback. And then there was the montage. There's one major montage where they're playing that punk rock music and Ron's sitting there thinking about Jeff. And then he goes back in his mind to that fight scene with the dented dude. And so it makes me wonder, he's still kind of processing that in his head. Like there's a lot that went on.
Oh, I think I know what it is, in my opinion. Okay. It's his wanting to get back at him. And we see that later in the episode because he pushes him. I think he's seeing that he punched that one guy or he elbowed that one guy in the head. And he felt like, oh, look at me. I can actually fight. I can do things and take care of myself if I need to. That, in my opinion, that's what that is now. Because he's like, remember, I like kicked ass, And so who's this guy just going to push me around?
So we talked about how maybe this show brought us back to reality, and we talked about the previous episode. There was so much of a dream state. We wondered if like this whole thing, if he's basically lying comatose in a bed somewhere.
Yeah.
If maybe he was the guy who had his head injured on that fast drive through the forest on the Jeep. Was that signified by the dented head dude? We don't know, but maybe now you're saying that was all like his own proclivities towards or his desire to basically thrash out and maybe thunk a dude.
Yeah, thunk a dude. I think, what you can see last episode and even a chunk of the series being is inside his head. But it doesn't mean everything's inside his head. So that could be the actual answer, right? So it's not like the whole thing's a dream, but we're seeing pieces. What movie did that? There's a show or a movie that did that, where it was like you couldn't, the unreliable narrator, right? You think you know what's going on but what you see doesn't match up. So maybe some of it is like, how he's perceiving the stuff. I don't know.
And I think last episode we talked a lot about really what you just said. Is this an unreliable narrator? Are we going to find out at the end, is this a St. Elsewhere snow globe moment? Are we going to find out it's a Fight Club? Or are we going to find out, maybe this is like Sixth Sense. Maybe I thought of this one this week. Is this a Sixth Sense where he's basically dead and like we're seeing dead people?
Yeah.
But maybe it's none of that. Maybe this is all reality, especially if we go to the final scene. We won't talk about it yet, but like there's a big breakthrough at the end of this episode.
You were also mentioning that it kind of still had a horror element, and I want to talk about that for a minute because I feel like this episode in general felt mysterious and conspiracy, but very like grounded, and like you said about relationships. But where was the horror? Remind me.
I think that this episode had very quick micro moments, and I feel like this is like a jambalaya where he's just throwing all these things into a soup, and it's coming at you fast and furious. And so a lot of the scenes had very quick elements of potential horror, kind of scariness. One was where Ron walks into his kitchen after burning the midnight oil, and there's dramatic music, and there's a guy with his ponytail in his kitchen he doesn't recognize. So he thinks, is this guy here to attack me or my family? Also, we saw the return of what he called the swatter, like who's swatting me or whatever, the mysterious calls he's getting, and we get this scary voice on the other line, like a scream voice, essentially saying, "I think I'm going to do something finally."
But by the way, do you remember the very ending? We're just jumping all over, but like at the ending, that threat guy said, like, I'm gonna do something right now, and he goes, "Fine, do it." And then
this is not a show for kids. Just do it, motherfucker.
Yeah, right. But then right after that, and I'm gonna have to go back and like watch it. Right after that, the guy in the voice goes like, "Wait, what?" Like,
no, he goes, "You need to calm down."
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's almost out of character.
Well, he's like, "Oh, wait, you need to calm down now."
I know, like it's like that. You know what that is? That's a lot of what we talked about. Where when you finally confront the thing you think is like the worst thing ever, it like chills out. Yeah. Is that a metaphor for life? I don't know. But like, yeah, he confronts this terrible swatter and the guy's like, well, okay, calm down. Stop it. Before we get into the couple scenes, I do want to mention something. I went through IMDb to look at some of the names of some of the people, just in general for my research. And I found a couple spoilers, which I'll put a spoiler warning right now for the next, like, say 5 minutes or less. And then I found out one thing that was bothering me. So one thing that was bothering me is Steven Droyko, that actor, Bardia Salimi, okay, Salimi. I knew I had seen him on I Think You Should Leave. I knew I had seen him, but I forgot where. Do you know where he's from? In which sketch?
Nope.
You don't? You don't even recognize him?
Nope.
Okay.
I remember. Yeah, I don't recognize him.
So he's from the sketch in season 3, episode 1, where he was pretending to throw water on him when they're in that class, and he got all mad at him. He's like, okay, you got me with the water. And he's like, no. He keeps trying to throw fake water on him, right? That whole scene. Yeah. That's the guy. That's Steven Droyko.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So that makes me feel better that I know that.
You made that connection.
Okay, and then here's the 2 other things real quick. The guy, Andrew Fitzgerald, that's the actor's name. He was in The Driving Crooner. He plays character Lice/Bruce, and I don't think met that person. All right. So there's a person from Driving Crooner in here. Okay, calm down. One more. For the people in the video, you can see Mike's apathetic face. And Connor O'Malley, you know him.
Sounds familiar.
Oh my goodness, he's in everything that Tim does. He's the crazy guy in everything Tim does. And then he was in Friendship with the drum scene. Anyways, he's in this show. Spoiler, we've not seen him yet. And his name is Pepperoni.
Oh, nice.
So nice. I am like very excited for that scene.
All right. Pepperoni.
Okay, IMDb research is done.
Was there any, and this is the last we're going to talk about, I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah.
Were there any I Think You Should Leave characters in that opening Sedona bro dude cigar sketch or scene where they're all kind of kicking back for the weekend? Because there's like maybe 10 dudes in that sitting around the campfire or whatever.
That guy with the funny hair, I thought I'd seen him before, but I didn't.
Got it.
Anyways, let's get into the show.
So we had that opening scene, but I think there's a really important scene that plot-wise that also had some interesting moments in that and this had me reminiscent of Fight Club. Do you remember Ed Norton's just going from class to class and he's meeting all these weird people in these weird, almost like community college like classrooms. That just reminded me of the Life of the Party class, where he goes into that Life of a Party class, and then all these weird people are walking in and getting coffee. That was so reminiscent of Fight Club.
I love that scene, and one of my favorite whole moments from this whole show is that woman. So he finds the woman who, I think that's the woman. I mean, she said she didn't remember it, but he finds a woman who he thinks was one of the people that were taking pictures of for the Red Ball group photos. And all that woman cares about is getting to level 5. And that killed me. And the funniest line in the world is she's like, you have to help me get to level 5. They say I'm too dumb.
Yeah.
They say I'm too dumb.
And was I reading too much into this? As soon as she said that, he did a literal turning of his back to her. And he goes, okay. Sorry, I asked. And he just didn't want to talk to her anymore. Like, it was so interesting. And I don't know if that was speaking to like Ron's lack of empathy, because I feel like Ron is starting to seem to me like he has a lack of empathy, both for his son, for Mike, and like he had a literal turning his back on this lady. Like, he just did not, he's very almost narcissistic. He's like, what can you do for me?
Exactly.
He doesn't care about what he could do for other people.
Well, then he immediately
finds the other dude.
He finds the other dude and he attacks him. Right? Like, I mean, that's like a pretty rough like turnaround, right? Like rejecting somebody and then attacking the person who like recognizes you.
Well, he grabs him because he wants to question him, and the guy falls up against like the bush. He takes a picture. The guy's blocking his face with his hands, and that'll become a pivotal scene later. What he sees on his wrist,
or will it? Because mine. Okay, I'm just going to say it now. I don't think there's any connection there.
Yeah.
I don't think at all. It's a color thing again. It's like, it's such a little like very, thread.
But it led to the pivotal final scene though. Like that did lead him to the scene.
Damn it, you're right. But we're jumping. But does that even matter? The final scene?
I don't know, because I've been in these weird corporate '90s office buildings where there's a shit ton of chairs.
Yep.
So I think he might just be thinking this is a connection, but it might just be, hey, this is an extra space where we're putting a bunch of chairs. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
And we don't know if there's something off camera. We didn't, because they pan back at that final scene. I mean, we've already referred to the final scene. He's in that big room. There's maybe 100 chairs in there, all lined up very tight and close. And he thinks somehow he's broken through, and he may have, but also this could just easily be in his head.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, that's not enough evidence, in my opinion. And yeah, so the Life of Party class thing was really funny to me, and also kind of jump started the new conspiracy, right? Because that's where that started. And that guy did run, by the way. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I rewatched it, and he didn't run right away, because Ron says that when he was recalling the story to somebody, he says he recognized me and then ran. I rewatched the scene. He did not run when he recognized him. He looked at him and he saw his face. Then he looked at the photo, I think. It might have been the photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all happened in such quick succession. I think, Ron interpreted it as he remembered me. But clearly the guy was spooked by something. Maybe there's been a couple people also spooked. Maybe this guy also worked at the Red Ball Marketing Corp and had to work naked. Who knows?
Nice. Yeah.
Like Steven Draco, who got all freaked out and ran. So, that HR scene, I think, was also just classically funny, where they're all both sitting there around muffins, because that's the next scene. There's a lot of stuff happening in the office this episode. I think it was because so much of it was centered around Jeff and the mall redesign. You saw a lot of stuff happening in the office, and them both sitting there being observed by Dr. Stevens, the HR lady, and Ron asking her if there's chocolate chips in there or whatever, and she's just digging in with her fingers. That was so weird. That was another weird.
So weird. Yeah. Yeah. That whole thing is, in my opinion, is a little played out. Like, I'm over it. Like, it's definitely not, it's like a side story that I don't know why it ever needed to happen. If it's like literally just a ploy for Amanda to try to hook up with him, it's weird. I don't know. I don't care enough. And it like created the HR guy. You know, I
feel like if we are going to treat like a classic sitcom, there's always like 4 or 5 story threads, and like not all of them. It doesn't have to be like Seinfeld where they all tie up at the end.
I know. But I'm just.
But I think like this is almost just like a a story thread that's just driving comedy. Because you're right, it gets us Dr. Stevens, who's pretty funny, who also, by the way, brings his parents in to meet Ron. That was just another funny moment. And that's when I
So
realized,
weird.
aha, he's a fraud. He's just there pretending to be this guy, and he's getting paid somehow.
Yeah, he just needs a place to stay. I think. I think that's just he just needs an apartment. Yeah, that guy's weird. We also can kind of just touch on this whole redesign because essentially, like I said in the beginning, Jeff's just trying to like make up for him feeling, not like one of the dudes. And so he wants to do something. He mentions at some point, like, it's cool. It's just like, it's cool. You know what I'm talking about, but he's not.
But that's also, that's what Ron grabs on with like talons with his hands so tightly. And I think he overemphasizes that. By the way, Jeff showing pictures of Sedona Adobe architecture just totally threw Ron off, I feel like, because I think a lot of the images they got off the internet that showed Jeff in the meeting later were that.
Yeah.
And by the way, that meeting was funny because Jeff was not impressed with their pictures. They pulled the all-nighter. They do another pitch with these Adobe like buildings, and as a last ditch effort, Ron throws out this idea for a CBGB.
That was odd.
I think because he thought it was cool. I think someone probably mentioned it. We've all seen the scene where someone's meeting with the boss around a table, and then they just pull something out of their ass or just something that was mentioned in passing to try and save the meeting.
Oh yeah,
That's what Ron's doing. He talked about this awning from CBGB, which I thought was just funny. But by the way, right after that, they cut to the montage playing punk rock music. We haven't talked enough about the music. We talked a little bit about Amy Mann last week, but the music I love, and they do a great job setting the mood. And that punk rock montage was great because it was so frenetic, and it also kind of showed Ron burning through images in his head, seeing more about the denthead dude, and just flashing back to a lot of this stuff. I just thought that was a really well done montage.
But I agree, but I'm pretty sure that they made that song. Like that sounds like a made up song.
It could have been.
I would place a bet on that actually, because it's like it was just garbage.
I liked it.
Really?
I liked it. It fit the scene so well. Like I don't know if I'd put it on my Spotify repeat playlist, but I feel like it did a really good job just with the frenetic nature of Ron's tattering mind.
He just loves doing that though. Like this team loves making up like music and jingles and songs like that. So I think that one's made up, but it fit perfectly.
Let's talk about Seth and Ron. So this is a big episode for them. I talked about how Ron came back. This was after that scene. Ron goes back to his house, pulls on, he's working late into the night, and there's this big dude with a ponytail in his kitchen. Guy turns around. He's clearly just getting a late night snack, and he yells to Seth, "Your dad's back!" Be-doop. And he walks back downstairs.
I was so mad all of a sudden. I don't know why. I don't like this guy. Why is this guy here? I don't like him.
I don't know. He's also at the kid birthday party. I feel like it could be maybe he's becoming. Seth feels like he needs some big brother or like father figures in his life, and I feel like this guy's doing that. He's helping Seth with some class. We don't quite know what the project is. It was so funny because, Richard yells from the basement, "Hey, Seth, get down here!" And Seth says something in a weird like Muppet voice or something.
Yeah, like they have their own little language. Yeah, I hate it.
We don't know what's going on.
And I know it feels like a comedy writer's like idea to be like, and then they'll have a secret language. Yeah, write that in. It's like there is no real purpose for it, just other than be super weird. But it is super weird.
Continuing on the thread, we also realized that we know that Seth was drinking in a previous episode. Ron saw him on the security camera, but we realize it's like a more serious problem than we originally thought. He's actually stealing liquor from his dad's bourbon in his office or whatever, and he's guzzling it. And it all culminates in him puking at his birthday party, which, by the way, I think he went to hit the bottle more because he was upset at Dad because Dad didn't want to do the Pee Wee Herman dance, which that was pretty funny in and of itself. But also, weird and also just a sign of how I think Ron really is neglecting Seth, and I think that is driving a lot of Seth's behavior.
I was going to say none of that would have happened if he did the Pee Wee Herman dance.
Should have
done Pee Wee Herman dance. And this drives home the point you said earlier, which is just that apathy that we're seeing from Ron. You know, he already turned his back on people, literally, and then turns his back on Mike. I don't know if that already happened.
We haven't talked about that. That's a big deal.
Okay.
We'll talk about that.
But you know what I mean? Like, and then now he's like not going to do the Pee Wee Herman dance because he's mad because of his own issues with, you know, his boss and the conspiracy. And yeah, he's just not there.
He's not there. He's an absentee dad. He is, as we're realizing, I think, essentially pretty self-centered, and he's just consumed with his own thoughts and really just worried about himself, and he's neglecting his family. By the way, so that scene culminates with the kid puking, and then another funny throwaway moment. Some guy covers it up with the birthday cake.
Yeah, it's fine. You can't see it. It's fine. It's so hard not to say it. It just, you know, these are all, like you said in the beginning, they're sketches. They're like that's a sketch by itself.
Just a funny little micro moment. And so, by the way, that puke scene comes right after Jeff was outside with, or Ron was outside with Jeff. Jeff had insisted that he come over to this party. Yeah. And he thought that they could work through the weekend. And Ron's like, it's my son's party. And Jeff insists. And so, Jeff quickly realizes that this is not a party where he's going to work, and he says the vibe isn't right. And so he leaves, and Ron walks in. So I thought that was interesting. But the other big thing about this party was right after Jeff arrives, Ron sees Mike walking up the driveway with the present, and he runs outside to confront him.
And he doesn't want him there because of obvious reasons of he's trying to like conduct stuff with the boss, and he doesn't want to like be, you know, he's already got a bunch of stuff going on. It's just too much for him. And Mike is persistent, you know, in Ron's like defense. Like Mike just is Mike, you know, but at the same time, you let him to the party, you know what I mean? And Mike is making like such like little demands. He's like, just let me walk into the party, put the present down, and I'll leave. Like, how do you not say yes to that? But he's like, no, nothing, you know?
And it shows how people are drawn to Ron. They want him to be like a family member. Like Mike thinks he's a part of the family because what Ron said last episode, this is all about Mike wanting to be a part of the family. He wants to come to the party, and Ron just says no. And then he grabs the present and says, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
And I think that I have to wonder how pivotal this was. Is this going to be like a breakup? Is Mike going to turn on him? Because I think Mike has a dark side.
1,000%.
I don't know where this is going to go now.
This is going to go 1,000% where you think it's going to go. He is going to double cross him. He is going to sell him out. No, this is it. That was the moment. The present was the moment. Because later on, he opens up the present. It was a nice present. I mean, a weird present because it's freaking Tim Robinson. Of course, it's the chocolate monkey. But the sentiment was nice. He's like, I saw this once. I didn't know when to buy it. I'm going to buy it for you. It's a nice thing. It would have been nice. It's a perfect like explanation of where Ron is at and with his head and how he's going to make it worse. Right? He's going to make it worse. There's so many metaphors in the show about life. But I want to mention this right now. This is a kind of aside. This happens to me personally, Carlos, and I'm sure a lot of people listening. And I think really this is the heart of the matter for the whole series as well as Ron, which is being overwhelmed. I bring this up because this literally was one of my biggest like kryptonites in my life, which is if it's too much stuff, I like freak. You know, and I don't mean like freak out and just scream or whatever, but it's just like it becomes heavy. And I feel like that's what this character is representing and is going through, because that's why he lashes out at Mike. That's why he isn't there for the kid. It's just so many things are happening, which of course they wrote into the script. But I think it is kind of like that in life. You know, for me personally, if my day, a Monday is like this, then this, then this, we all have had that day, and like a family thing happens, and then a money thing, you know. So I feel like that's really what's going on inside.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it's tied to the broader theme of, what really matters. And so that opening scene where we're in Sedona and that the guy with the watch tells Jeff, when Jeff says, Jeff goes, you should see my real life. He goes, you think making boxes for people to go to and shop is your real life? He goes, this is real life. This is what matters. So Jeff has a moment of realization that like what matters, what really matters. Ron, can't see what matters because he's overwhelmed. So he's continuing to turn his back on people, his son, Mike. And we see that he has no lack of empathy, but he's so overwhelmed with what he thinks really matters, which is his job. And that in the end, we're realizing that's really not what matters.
Yeah. I think we got to the heart of it just then. That's exactly what's going on between two of the really pivotal characters that are like driving the whole show, right?
And we talked, I think maybe a couple episodes back about, and not to get too armchair psychiatrist, but we did talk about how there's the kind of the male loneliness epidemic, right? If we're going to talk about the zeitgeist, like all of these guys seem like they're lonely, or they're unsure where their lives are going. I know that Mike's certainly lonely. Seth is certainly lonely. The characters who are lonely are the men. The women seem like they're fine. I think Natalie seems pretty satisfied in her relationship. Barb seems weirdly happy with Ron.
Yeah, she got her deal too.
Yeah, Ron is so neglectful, but she just seems like a pretty really. Like I said, I love her. I love that character. I think he's 100% batting up. Like he definitely did well with her.
Yeah, and she's very like supportive even with all the craziness, which I'm sure will come to a head in an episode pretty soon. But she got the deal, so she's like, to your point, she's a made woman now. Like she's like, oh, if it goes through, everything's fine. Like she's successful, And yeah, the daughter has a good relationship, and it seems like, and interesting.
And Ron shares a moment with her again as the only confidant. Like he confides in her about his new theory about the color coding that he discovered on the website, on the tattoo of the guy's wrist. And she seems like she doesn't quite think he's just crazy. So remember, like 2 episodes back, we all wondered if maybe Ron has had a breakdown. I still think that's a really big possibility. But it's weird how that empathy or that apparent like worry for Ron isn't necessarily there from Natalie in this episode. Like she's like, hey, yeah, Dad, there's something here. Go visit the office on the weekend because it'll be open during that party, during that gala.
That could be it, or it could be, because I read it as 2 ways. When it happened, it just, again, it always feels too convenient. Like she feels too supportive. I don't know if there's another conspiracy layer that she's in on something even more. Didn't someone say that on the Facebook page, I think? Like she knows about the chairs and everything, but not that. But I think that it was weird that she said, go check it out on Sunday. To me, that bothered me. Like, it was like, what? Why would you
just
that?
Knew too quickly that this thing would open. She also knew pretty quickly that the office would be open because everyone was eating. As he said, everyone would be eating fried food and would need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. And so the support is weird to me. Like it doesn't feel right. Something feels weird about it. Before we move on to another scene though, for the worksite blow up that you have written down, there was that bug scene. And there was the bug guy came back, and I don't know if that means anything. Do you think that means anything? The bug scene, the bug guy scene?
No, I don't know. And again, it's really hard to tell what is just a throwaway or kind of not necessarily essential to the overall breaking down of the mystery. I think a lot of these are going to be red herrings. I think this maybe just be another red herring. We also think if this is all in Ron's mind, is he boring the meaning in his head of bugs as an eavesdropping device? There's the bug that went into the phone. Anyway, that was a pretty funny scene because the guy, we didn't talk about this last episode, but he talked about it. Did we talk about it?
We did.
About how but did we mention that he wanted to the bug named after him or something? He thought he discovered an entirely new bug or something.
Oh, I don't think we mentioned that. And I actually forgot that happened.
That was another confirmation from a clue standpoint that was at Ron's house, and the only other location was at the office, and that they realized that there's a connection to Hungary.
Right, but okay, now I'm going to answer my own question. Now that I'm remembering what they said, and that's what they were talking about, I feel like that could also be a coincidence. Like just bugs being found places. I don't know. You know what I mean? Anyways, worksite blow up is the one of the last scenes we have here. What a weird scene. Oh, by the way, the worksite blow up, which is the worksite of part of the mall. I don't know if it's the whole mall or just part of it, but the whole show, we get little snippets of what's going to happen in the scene, which is like you see people at night kind of like working on something, and they don't say anything about it, and then just go to the next scene. And so now we find out what it was, which again,
and the payoff is also not anything you ever expect.
Nope, and it's not like,
it seems almost like a horror movie kind of setup, and then like a funny inconsequential payoff. It was funny, like these grown ass men are doing little radio controlled Jeeps trying to like do a concourse or traverse like a little bridge.
It's so, and the car wasn't even going good, by the way. I was watching it. I was like, it's not even driving right.
But as I saw in a comment thread on Reddit or on our Facebook page, it's a mini Jeep. Like, is this in his head again? It's another little, it's like a little Jeep tour, but
it's
in
a
miniature
little
form.
Jeep tour. Yeah. In his brain. Man, oh man, like it could all still be here in his brain. But this is the pivotal. It's a moment where he is just so mad, which he should be, because what are they doing? It's a work site and you're doing little cars on it. But he pushes his boss, and there it is. And that will definitely come back, right? Because the whole idea of the beginning of this episode and the whole episode is him, Jeff, wanting to be like the dude, you know? And he's like wanting to put his just authority out there. And here is Ron pushing him in front of the whole people, everybody.
Yeah. You know, with Ron's inability to process all those things, the stress that's weighing him down, he just can't handle it. And his reaction is almost violence. You know, he's not like a guy who's going to like hurt someone, but like, or beat his wife, I feel like, but he's the kind of guy who, when he's overwhelmed, he kind of physically thrashes out, and he's just yelling at these dudes. He's stressed out. And I think Jeff was coming up behind him to calm him down is what he's doing.
He was.
Ron just freaks out.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad.
And pushes him.
Yeah. I was like, that's a moment where they could have like kind of connected, but no, it's over. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, watch anything that Tim's ever done, Ron is going to like lose his mind. Like that's the inevitable ending. Like he's going to be punching people and throwing things, and something's going to be on fire. Like if it's not, I am like wildly off, but I feel like that's gotta be the ending.
Yeah. I think if we're going to do a little bit of predicting next episode, I think next episode, he's increasingly isolated because he's going to lose Mike. Mike maybe had just become an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
He might lose his job. If he doesn't lose his job, he's going to be hanging on by a thread and, you know, on probation. He might get demoted. He might get, hey, okay, listen, Ron, you're too hot-headed. We're going to have someone else take this over. And so Ron is basically going to have to do some serious introspection. And that whole isolation might just drive him further down the paranoia path.
Of course. Yeah. This thing's ending in chaos. I'm telling you, misery and chaos, which is, you know, kind of this last scene of him going to, you know, Delaware and the 50s party or whatever that's happening.
Yeah, Delaware City. In Ohio.
And I will mention this because it's not an I Think You Should Leave reference, but it's a Detroiters reference. Okay. Does that work for everybody?
Yes. One per episode.
That party is totally the Dream Cruise in the Detroiters episode. You remember that? Why are you throwing me under the bus here on our own podcast?
Yeah, I believe you, but I just don't think my recall on Detroiters. You've watched it like 10 times.
I've watched every episode 20 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not even an exaggeration. Well, there's a thing called the Dream Cruise. It's like very 50s, like, you know, party or something. And so I just feel like there's a lot of little themes that kind of, you know, percolate through all the different things he moves on. So, but yeah, they're doing this little party or this little festival.
Bunch of dudes in cop outfits. And one guy is Ron's walking in. He left the construction site in a hop, walking in, putting sunglasses on. He's going undercover. One dude with an Elvis haircut says, "Hey," kind of freaks Ron out. This is the same guy that ends up in the office chasing Ron down, right?
Wait, is
It's
it?
the same guy. It's the same guy. Yeah.
Oh, wait, you mean talk about when he was like looking through the files?
Yeah. He's walking through the crowd and a guy goes, "Hey," it's a
Oh,
guy
I didn't catch that.
with this Elvis haircut and a leather jacket. And that's the same guy who walks into and apparently works at the office.
I like his attempt at like blending in for a second. He's like, what does he say? I'm Deborah's brother or something.
Well, he stood there for so long.
So
His
long.
mind was working.
Yeah.
With his great eye work. That's what Tim does so well. Just his eye expression is like,
Yeah. But then
"You
it
sure
doesn't
about
work and
that?
he's still
You
got to
sure
run.
about that?" And he gives the eye expressions for about 5 to 10 seconds, and he throws the papers up there in a cloud of paper, and then he runs off.
And then he finds the chairs. He finds some chairs, and he goes to another room and he finds more chairs. And I think they're just chairs. I don't believe in the connection. I think I still don't believe in the connection. It's just too, like you said, I've been in offices with like all those chairs in real companies.
Yeah, we just don't know if this is in his head, if this is just a bunch of normal stuff you see in life, like chairs and in a room in a corporate environment, and he's just reading into it, or very possibly there could be like a real conspiracy. It just seems weird. Why would a company have chairs in a city hall office environment? That didn't make much sense to me either.
Yeah, they're doing a great job of putting things in the show that could be either or. That's like their whole thing. It's like, well, what do you think? Is it or is it not?
So this episode just had so many great lines. Again, my favorite one was ponytail guy at the party. We also had the lady you liked, the Russian lady, saying that
I love her.
She wants to get to level 5.
She's got to get to level 5.
And a couple other ones. So
I think overall, though, real quick before we close it out and then go to social, I think I enjoy the episode, kind of like not last episode, but the one before it, where it's like it just felt good. It felt like a whole cohesive thing, like we've talked about in this episode. A lot of fun moments, a lot of things that feel like sketches, a lot of character building, some kind of sad moments in a way, some real moments about like, what am I doing with my life? You know what I mean? I think this show excels when it does all those.
It had all those things, and they pack so much into every episode. The plot elements around the mystery, the things that reveal his relationships with his family, his breakdown. It's just there's so much packed in, and they're so efficient in 30 minutes. It's hard to believe that they do this in 30 minutes. And I saw an article, I can't remember if it was in Variety or whatever. I think it was written by a screenwriter. He said, "What's great about the show is like they start late and they finish early with every scene. Meaning every scene starts where the action's happening right away. Like there's no slow buildups in any of the scenes. You immediately know what's happening, or you're almost in the middle of it as it's happening. And then they cut away really fast. So every scene is so packed and dense with both things that drive the plot forward, but also give you funny throwaway moments or great funny laugh out loud scenes. Every scene I feel like does that.
Yeah. And at the very end, they showed a preview. I don't know if we've ever mentioned this, but at the end, and I showed you this too when I was texting you, that after the episode, if you wait to the very end of the credits, they do show you a preview of the next episode.
I didn't see it. I saw the last preview on YouTube. So what did they hint at?
I'm watching it right now, and it shows him being freaked out, Ron being freaked out and angrily driving and taking pictures of somebody in trucks. So he's somewhere else now. And it shows Natalie looking suspicious. Interesting. It shows Natalie at a door looking suspicious.
A door, you think in a house or somewhere?
I couldn't tell where she was. She was looking like she was trying to open a door, and she turned her head around like someone was catching her.
I feel like there's real love for her father. I don't think she's a if she's somehow involved in this, is for reasons we probably can't expect, or it's for in some way she thinks she's helping him. I doubt that she would, because she's worried about his mental state. Why would she be behind something that would drive him crazier?
I'll say this. How about this? I'll say this. Why was that last scene in that one episode? Okay, that's my retort. Just because. So I could see these guys.
The Scrooge porn scene.
Yeah, I could. Thank you for yes. I could see these guys putting Natalie at the heart of the conspiracy. I really could. I really could. We've had Head Dent guy. We've had, we've had things that you go, what are you guys doing? So I don't know. That she looks suspicious. She looks suspicious.
Maybe next episode's Head Dent guy will be Pepperoni.
Oh no, he can't. Pepperoni is Connor O'Malley. So it's a different guy.
But I'm saying it could. I know. I'm saying the next great delightful character. Could be Pepperoni.
Pepperoni's gonna rule. Okay, if you all are excited about one thing, be excited about Pepperoni. Oh my goodness, he's so good. He was in Detroiters too a bunch. Anyways, let's go to social media because we have a lot of stuff, right? You have a couple things.
Nope.
Oh, what are you talking about? What? I saw this stuff at the bottom of your notes that I thought it was social medias. Thought it was comments from our everywhere. Okay, never mind. But we have had a lot of comments, and we've been watching and listening to all of them and replying. So thank you so much for that. And thanks to everybody for listening, as well as joining our Facebook page. I just told my friend this the other day. I go, hey, I'm back on Facebook. Because, people don't go, hey, go check out our Facebook page. But we do, because it's an active little community for this show. And it's great.
Jump on it. Tell us what you think of the show. Comment. And so I'm excited for next week. I think there's only 2 episodes left. I think it's an 8 episode season. So we might be in the penultimate episode next week. And then we could start. Obviously, we're going to be talking a lot about the final episode, but then we might have to have a couple wrap-up episodes. And also, we got to speculate about season 2.
Yep.
If that's going to come. I feel like there's going to be season 2.
I think so. And I was going to say, do you think there will be, or do you think they'll wrap it up? I mean, if
they want it, because this, the articles in Variety and a few other mags have said this is the most successful comedy launch for HBO in like a decade.
Wow.
So they're definitely killing it on the comedy, on the rating side. 3 million or so, I think, viewers per episode, which I think apparently is pretty good.
I mean, like, I was going to say, though, when you're a writer and you're making shows like this, you're never guaranteed a second season. So it's always best to, one, they literally tell writers to do this, write a cliffhanger so that the audience will like be clamoring for it. And then they get some pressure on the network. But also, if you're not going to get it, then you try to wrap it up. But I feel like they get at least 2.
Yeah.
This is 2 seasons.
Yeah. I think HBO tends to give successful shows a couple seasons. This reminds me of like Barry in terms of the tones, kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
It's an ex-SNL guy. It's filling that hole that I think Barry had a few years ago. And I think Barry got 2 or 3 seasons. And I feel like this is kind of their filling the Barry hole in the HBO lineup.
Yeah. That's a weird sentence, but yes.
You're right. Don't ever excerpt that one sentence.
Don't clip that. That's what I'm saying. Don't clip that. And then, a bunch of people commenting on the Facebook page, talking about Downey, Jim Downey, and some other stuff. I think the general consensus that people liked the last episode, and it wasn't like, jarring either way, right? It wasn't like really crazy or whatever.
It was a quieter episode, so it wasn't as nearly as provocative. I think there was a ton of conversation after the last episode. How could there not be after you end on Scrooge porn?
Yeah.
That people just want to talk about that. And so this one was more of a thinker in terms of, I think as I reflected on it today and stuff, I really liked it, but it just seemed like a much quieter, I don't want to say slower, because I think they packed so much in, but it just was not as provocative. It was a little more somber.
I kind of like that though sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I want to just like chill out with the show, and that's what I did with this episode. So I'm into it.
By the way, I didn't mention this. I have people watching the video. I have a Tekka shirt. I got some merch. I ordered this shirt online, I think we talked about this, the social, the cheer company socials. There is a website purporting to be an actual website for the company, and you can actually order merch on there. And I also think from their online social site as well. So I got a Tekka t-shirt, which I'm super excited to wear around.
So I'm going to buy one so that we can match. And for like the, finale, we can both be wearing it. Or do they have hoodies? Oh my goodness. They had a Tekka hoodie. That'd be great.
They have hats. You're not a hat guy, though.
Not a hat guy.
All right, everyone. This has been a lot of fun. We'll talk to you next week.
See you next week. Bye.